Hi, I'm Kathy Mills from Short Film Edits, and I'm here with Steinar for an interview today. How are you?
I am doing amazing today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Could we start this with you telling us a little bit about you?
Sure thing. I was born and raised in Norway, where that was my life for 18 years. Ended up going to the army there and thought that was a path for me. Somehow ended up in America, and I lived there for 5 years. I ended up visiting almost every single state in America except from Hawaii and Alaska. So I was just every single weekend I was on my bike, I was traveling, I was just seeing the country and studying engineering, software engineering. Then I kind of lived as a software engineer for 5, 6 years, including living a bit in Germany for a little bit of a stretch in Finland, and then moving to Australia, living in Australia for about 2.5 years. And that's where I kind of got my eyes open for acting, and I just fell in love with the industry. Um, and then a lot of things happened, and eventually I ended up in South Korea, and I live here now, and I work here as an actor. So it's been a roller coaster, and I'm very happy for or where I've arrived, I suppose, or where I am right now.
Oh, good. Sorry, my cat was here playing, just trying to do
That's all
things.
right.
All right. So that brings me to my first question. So you've worked in a few different countries. What's the biggest difference you've noticed in how stories are told between those countries?
That's a very good question, actually. Um, to be honest, I don't really think the moral of the stories are that different.
Mm.
Um, I do believe the way we tell those stories are very obviously reflected by our culture and how we kind of define things. And I think now going into the vertical dramas, it's still a love story, most of the
Mm.
time. It's still a whether it's somebody really masculine saving somebody like a princess, like the prince, that kind of stories, or just somebody very successful helping somebody,
Mm.
it, it's it's not it's a pretty common story that is being told in every religion, every culture that I have been in. But the way we tell it is definitely very different.
Yeah.
And I know now going into verticals of living in Asia, a lot of the things that are happening in the vertical is something that I can see daily or I can understand from this is how they tell these stories in this culture. While in the West now it's very different how they tell those stories.
Mm.
Or you can go back to like Scandinavia where it's like Vikings would still also tell stories and it's always about them, fighting each other to death. And it's the same stories, but they are definitely being told a bit different based on, the culture behind everything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Have you ever had any stories where you've had like a language barrier where you found it harder to tell the story because of that language barrier?
Mm. I mean, working in Korea is like the language barrier is something I feel very, very common. And
Hmm.
very often I don't speak Korean fluent. I speak it enough to kind of get by.
Yep.
But what I'm realizing here in Asia is that most of the productions where they need somebody who looks like me, they don't need me to play somebody who is Korean. They also don't need me in
Hmm.
China to play somebody who is Chinese. So like even my friends that are living in China, it's like if they want a white guy or they want somebody who doesn't look Asian, they want you to play it as an American or as a European.
Hmm.
Um, and there's definitely been almost every single drama I've done where it's like the roles are written for how someone living in China may see how someone in America would behave.
Okay.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's the same with Korean productions as well. So there's definitely been a lot of times, and I know a lot of American actors and Australian actors coming to China, for instance, and it's like these words don't make sense because you
Yeah.
wouldn't say it that way.
Yes.
And then there's be like intrigues and arguments about how the characters would behave because it's a different culture's perspective or like perspective of how Americans most likely would behave. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, it happens every single project here, I feel like. But
Yes.
luckily, as you're kind of doing more projects, you get more faith from the directors and you get more people trust your opinion more.
Mm.
So you can tell them and you can hopefully be verbal to be you know what, I think doing it this way would make more sense. Then you do get a voice.
Yeah.
It takes a bit longer here. It's more of
Yeah.
a hierarchy way the system is being told. So in the beginning, when you just have a tiny role, you're just like on set for the first time, nobody cares what you have to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it takes time, and there is definitely a lot of, I wouldn't say language barriers, but more cultural barriers of
Mm.
meeting their expectations of what Americans would behave.
Mm.
Does that
But I
make
guess
it
they
sounds
could,
like complicated, but it's
yeah, they could learn as well though. So they could learn from you guys to understand that more, the more you collaborate.
yep, and I think it's becoming more like that, and you're seeing a lot of really amazing productions being made where there is more of a collaboration. But it is they have a culture again where it's not that common for, you know, we have the clients who's like the top bosses, and then
Mm.
they tell the directors whatever they want to tell the directors, and the directors have to listen to the clients, and then the
Yeah.
directors would tell us, and we have to listen to the director. It's not as much of there is more of a class difference here in a way
Yeah.
during the film set. So it's slowly and surely becoming more of a collaboration thing, and I'm very thankful for that.
Mm. That's good to hear. I'm glad. Okay, so you come from a software engineering background. Does that logical side ever show up in how you build a character?
Ooh, it shows up in absolutely everything else in my
Yeah.
career, um, but not really how I build a character. Let me think a bit. No, I don't think so. No.
No,
Um,
mainly more how you progress as an actor in like different ways, maybe.
Definitely, definitely. And I worked a bit as a freelance engineer as well, and knowing how you work as a freelance, how you kind of have to pursue, you know, you have to pursue jobs a lot of the times, and you have to kind of
Mm.
make yourself be worthy of whatever payment you want to get, or
Yeah,
that kind of lifestyle is something I explored as an engineer before I became an actor. So it's more something like I'm more familiar with that.
yeah,
um, when other people maybe come in and they like being an actor is by itself, you're a freelancer, you know, like you may be working with an agent that does a lot of this stuff for you, but you're still being unemployed most of the time unless you're able to get hired, you know.
yeah,
So that part I'm more familiar with. I definitely have a more systematic approach to how I approach a character, but I don't think it's necessarily more logical. I do want to say one thing though, and that is like when I am acting, if what I'm doing don't make sense to me, like in a logical way, I can't for the love of me fake it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so that's something I guess that's like I it needs to make sense, and maybe that's something that comes from my engineering background, where it's like
yeah,
it wouldn't work, you know, like this
yeah. It just
it
doesn't
doesn't
feel
add
as
up.
real. It doesn't feel
Yeah,
as real.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. This okay, so this kind of so goes back to what I was asking before, but does switching languages change how you experience a character's emotions?
You're asking some like very good questions, but also really
Sorry.
tough questions that I'm like, I have to actually think. Does switching, I mean, are you referring to now Norwegian versus like English, or are you referring to like
Yeah.
Korean or
Or any language, do you feel it changes your characters like emotionally when you're saying it in a different language?
I feel like it changes me
Mm.
as a person. Like the person I am when I'm speaking to in English is a different person who I am speaking in Norwegian.
Okay.
Just based on like the time in my life where I've been speaking English as my mother tongue or fluently has been like from 20 years plus, you know? So like
Mm.
most of my adult life, and Norwegian automatically kind of takes me more back to, you know, the memories I have of my childhood, and so it changes how I feel as a person. And I think that changes, you know, the perspective I have or how I view the roles. Um, Trying to do a role or saying certain lines in Korean or even like if you have a line in Chinese, I'm not good enough with the languages. So then all you're doing is you're just focusing on the lines.
Yeah.
And I know some people kind of have to do that with acting in general. I really try not to, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like I try to prepare enough so that when you're on the set, it comes out.
Yeah.
But when you're unsure about the language, it definitely forces you to pay so much attention of how you're going to say something that um, in my mind I can't make it sound natural or in a way that I'm proud of. So
It takes away from the naturalization of the
yeah,
character. It's more like focus. Yeah, like we said, you can't get into the character properly because you're too busy
right.
focusing on the language. Yeah.
Precisely, yeah. And
Mm.
then as for the Norwegian again, I think like most of my adult life again is speaking English. So um, if I have a role in Norwegian, I feel less mature in a way. Like I just
Okay.
feel the language to me is less mature, so it's more of a challenge for me to make it like where do I kind of how do I say those sentences in a way that sounds more mature because it's like I don't know. It's a weird
Mm.
thing. I had a audition recently for like for a Viking movie, and I was really excited for it. And I had a few lines in Norwegians, and I'm like, can I just do the audition in English because it feels more comfortable for me in like in this more masculine, mature role to do it in English. So
Yeah.
um, I think it's something that comes naturally, though. Like once if you get the role or you live there for a month, it kind of you swap back. So.
Yeah. Okay. Go away. The cat is like here wanting to pay attention. Oh my gosh, go away. Um, okay. Um, so you give off both like a strong and gentle energy. How do those two sides of you work together on screen?
I give off what? What did you just say?
Strong and gentle.
Strong and gentle.
Strong and gentle.
Wow. Um, Interesting. I think that's just who I am, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think what I'm trying to do a lot of the times in these verticals or what I'm being told, like I smile all the time.
Mm.
I have like my smile wrinkles are like it's crazy. And and that's just who I am. It's I
Yeah.
use a smile for I love smiling, but I also use it as everything. Like if I'm angry, I'll probably be smiling. If I'm upset, I'll probably still like it's just this thing for me.
Mm.
Um, and in the vertical dramas, a lot of the times I'm being told not to smile that much, or
Mm.
I don't believe the character necessarily would smile that much. So
Yeah.
a lot of the scenes, it's like me trying not to smile, even though I would smile in these scenarios. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes that comes across of like even though maybe I'm not smiling, you can kind of see that there would be a smile there.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely not something I'm purposefully like trying to put on this gentle. No, it just
Mm.
it comes out the way it comes out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fine. Okay. You spent time in the Norwegian army and also worked as a chef. Has those very different experiences shaped you as an actor in any way?
Very, very, very much so.
Mm.
Um, Not just the kind of jobs I've done, but there's this quote where it's like you're master of none, like you're jack of all trade, master of none,
Mm.
but sometimes
Yeah.
better than the master of one. It's one of those, and and that was me for a lot of my life. Like I played sports for 15 years, and I played soccer, I played handball, volleyball, basketball, American football, like tennis. Like I
Mm.
played almost everything there is, and I was good, but just not good enough to make it a career.
Yeah.
Um, and I would see the same in a lot of the fields I've tried, like the army. I was good, but I completed the special forces. I could go that path, but I wasn't good enough, nor did I like it enough.
Mm.
And same when I went into like to be a chef or do all these other different jobs. It's like I was good, but just not good enough to make it. But then when I suddenly found acting, being okay at a lot of things is like such a big advantage because you have all these scenes where it's like suddenly can you like hold a gun or do the scene where it's like an action scene I
I
can,
know how to do that. Yeah.
boxing scenes. Yeah, I've done boxing. Like there's in acting, you have to like you need to know so many different skills
Mm.
because whenever you take on a new role, that character would probably have different skills that they're coming from.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and I definitely do believe that having a more versatile background does. I think even if you're an actor and you don't have a versatile background, I would like suggest do everything because the
Mm.
more things you can take from, the easier it is to kind of relate to a new character. So
Yeah. Even
for
if you take
sure.
some classes of just
Even
tiny little
yeah,
things. Yeah.
literally. Like I think as an actor, anything you can learn is a good thing because it can
Mm.
help you easier relate to a character.
Yeah. When you were when you said you're a chef before, my dad was a chef. Um, so I know that if you're not very passionate in that, you don't want to do it because that's a grueling job.
It's a very grueling job, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. A lot of hours in that one too. And if you're not very passionate about it, then it's kind of just more of a chore than anything.
yeah, not just that grueling of it in hours, but more like you constantly being kind of in, you constantly have stress going on. Like you constantly have new orders, you constantly have to think about three different things at the same time. And that, like, unless you're passionate about it, that just becomes stress that is hard to
Yeah.
deal with, you know. But if you're very passionate, then you're like, how can I make this better? How can I, add something here? Or
It's a lot.
it's a lot, yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
And especially coming from the family point of view too. So not just the person, but the family as well. It takes a toll on the entire family when there's a job like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay. What differences have you noticed between working on traditional TV productions to short vertical dramas?
This is a great question, and I wish I could kind of come up with a better answer to you because I truthfully can't. Like I can say it from
Mm,
from my perspective, but it is different because
mm,
I haven't worked in LA, I haven't worked in Hollywood, but the roles that I've done in Korea, in China, in Asia, in Europe, it's never been a very big role.
mm,
You may have a line or two, you may even have multiple days of shoot, but you're not like
mm.
nowhere close. I have never, at least, been like the lead or being the main cast for a big production. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then suddenly you jump into verticals, and now I am the lead, or I am part of the main cast, and I can tell you more of the difference between having a small role versus having a lead role, because that changes everything of how people talk to you, how people communicate with you, and
Yeah.
how much kind of not power, but more of like how important your voice is,
Yeah.
So I just don't have that horizontal experience doing those, where you are the lead. From the smaller roles, I can definitely see you're just part of the puzzle, right? Like
Mm,
you're there to you're not relevant for the story to go on, but they need you there as a piece to tell their story.
yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
so
Well,
I feel like unless you have had that big role experience in those dramas, it's like the difference is more of are you telling the story or are you part of them telling the story?
yeah. Yeah. But I still think every single role, no matter where you are, is an important role, as you said, to tell the
100%,
story.
100%, 100%. But like if you're not part of the main cast, if you want to, do something with your role, or you want to, you just can't because it's
Yeah.
not about how you're like you're there for them to, continue their story. And of course, you're super important to the drama,
Mm.
but you will be treated very differently for sure.
That's disappointing to hear, to be honest, but I get it.
Mm,
In a way, I get it, but it's still disappointing. Yeah. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean, and like I also agree that every role is important, and I don't want to
Mm,
like take that away from you, but I also know that doing vertical dramas, like a lot of times you do the lead cast would be really talented actors or really good actors, and like the further down on the line you go, you definitely like they're hiring people to save money, or they're hiring students, like it. it's not like you're getting where every single person on set is a professional actor and you can kind of have that fluidity. You like no, not for vertical dramas, not for bigger productions. You know, for bigger productions, I suppose you have everybody is actors, but um, disappointing, yeah, and every part is important, but yeah,
Mm. But again, in saying that, that's sometimes part of that is a good thing also because you've got to start somewhere. So that
yeah.
person who isn't an actor yet, that gives them a door to get
It
in.
gives them,
So,
that's the thing, right? It gives them the door and hopefully they go there to learn and try to look at the ones having a bigger role to how can I do that or how can I, you know, approach
mm,
it like he does. Um, so yeah, I
mm. It's contradictive. There's good and bad.
it
Yeah.
is, it is.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
things are good and bad. Yeah.
True. All right. How do you approach building a character?
I read the script,
Yes.
but I read the script a lot of times.
Mm.
And I've had this conversation because a lot of different actors approach their roles differently, and especially in the
Mm.
vertical space, because a lot of times you're being asked, like, can you show up tomorrow? You know,
Yeah.
like very short notice. Um, in the beginning, I guess I was just reading, you know, I was just trying to figure it out. And as I've done more and more, I've kind of developed my own way of building a character. And I've also been part of some verticals I can't really recommend, nor do I want to, you know, promote because of
Hmm.
how the story was told. And that's also told me that I need to read the scripts before accepting a role, you know? So now it's like I need the script in advance. I need the script at least a couple of days in advance. And I have this like thing where I would first read the script and then I write down my first impression of the show because that's something I'm never going to get back, you know? So then I write down not just what I think about the show, but like what I think about these characters, what, because that is the impression that most audience are going to have.
Mm.
You know, most audience are not going to watch it 10 times. Some maybe, but you know,
Mm.
most people are going to either skim through it or watch it once. And then I read it like three or four or five more times, trying to like just trying to figure out who I am. Um, and then I would read it like another time to be like try to figure out if somebody else is giving clues about who I am. Like somebody's
Mm.
mentioning in a sentence that he used to do this 10 years ago. So it's not specifically my line, but like it's something I can dot down to be I did this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, so I try to just build as much, I try to find as much information in the script about who I am as a character. Um, and if there's a lot of missing things, then I didn't do this in the beginning, but now I create my own little, you know, imaginary circumstances because I need to have
Mm.
something to go on. I
Yeah.
need to like, there's so many lines that come out and it makes sense. You're supposed to be portraying a character who's 30 or 40 or 20 and the show only happens in one day or one week and it's like you're saying the things you're saying because of what happened in the past, right? Or
Yes.
so I definitely do try to build a pretty strong I do try to feel like I can justify every single thing I say.
Yeah. You got to
Does that
create
make
a
sense?
backstory for them.
Yeah, at least for like what is relevant for for this story. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to think about like my imaginary best friends from kindergarten, but the things that are relevant to the story. So I would read through it at least
Mm.
10 times, maybe 15, 20. And that's all the preparation I kind of do. I just read through it. I
Mm.
try to think about who I am. The last like five times I read through it, I skip everything that's not for me because a lot of times
Mhm.
too, I don't really want to fully know what my character is not supposed to know.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
we have all these stories, and I'm assuming you're watching verticals where it's like one of the partners maybe are cheating, but you don't know they're cheating,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know? But then if I read the script and I know they're cheating, I'm going to behave very differently.
Yes, definitely.
So then
Yeah.
I'm like, I really try the last 10 times I'm reading it to not like put much time and energy into the part of the story that my characters don't know about.
Hmm. I would
Um,
find if that was me, I would probably also like read theirs and then try and figure out how they're going to portray that to me. And that might, mix things up because they might do it completely different to what you imagined.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
also something that obviously I'd read through it. I'd read through that part two, three times to see if there's cues, like if there's any cues I need to know about, like, oh, they're talking about me. That's something that could be relevant to me
Yeah.
building my character. But then I definitely do try to forget that to be
Hmm.
like, if my character doesn't know that, then I try to not remember what is happening. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's what I do. I don't really spend time reading lines and that kind of stuff. Obviously, I read through it so many times that I get the sense of how every scene is going to be, but I don't
Yeah.
like put too much energy into just lines because I have a
Yeah.
shitty memory to begin with. So
Yeah. I've heard like people will read through the script, but then not actually go into learning their lines until they're like that morning or like the night before. So that
yeah,
they're
I'm
this.
definitely more similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard that the lines can change on the day too. So you've got to be prepared for that as well.
Yeah. And you're seeing it too. I've been very fortunate to work with some amazing actors, and it's something
Mm.
like it sounds almost stupid in a way, but like the less they know their lines, the better it sounds in my mind. Like
Mm.
I've had some amazing scenes with some truly talented actors, and it's like the cues, like some people use the cue of what the other person says before to be like, that's where I jump in, like
Yeah.
when Kathy says, go away, then I say my line. Like I memorize the cue you said, but then when you work with some truly amazing actors, like the words just come out,
Yeah.
they don't say go away, but you understand it's like in the sentence, it makes sense that you're talking now and she's talking now and you're arguing now or you're fighting now. Like the kind of the better you get at it, or at least the better actors that I worked with,
Mm.
you just like it just kind of rains down as a as a fluid more so than like being too specific about the words you're saying. I know that if you're
Mm.
doing like a Shakespearean play, it's different. But in the
Definitely.
vertical world and telling a story as quickly as we are telling it,
Mm.
yeah. And then this is almost again when you're working with very new actors, like students or people that are very new,
Yeah.
they have to like they're spending so much time thinking about their lines that you really need to tell them their cues so they can kind of remember
Mm.
where to get in. But like again, once you face off with these amazing actors, it flows.
I guess
Um,
that would also come into if you've worked with that person more than once, you kind of get,
yes,
you know, that
yeah,
as well. It's just you kind of get a rhythm together if you've worked with them more than once.
yeah. I remember I had a show with Nevin, who's
Mm.
I think
I
he's
love
a
Nevin. He's
good
great.
actor.
Yeah.
And I was a villain for the first one he did, but I spent a lot of time talking with him. He became a good friend of mine. And then we did it back to back. So I did a villain for his next drama as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then I knew him and I kind of I understood how he can go about stuff and it was like I had such an amazing time because
Mm.
I don't normally portray villains, but this one it was relatively fun to do. And
Yeah.
the girl that I was with too, she's also a really good friend of mine. Her name is Christina. And it's like we would have a few scenes where it's like I know I can throw anything at Devin and he
Hmm.
will deal with it in the moment of the scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then like it was almost like let me put that for the test. Let me just like yell at his face and see how he
Yeah.
reacts to it. And it made for such an amazing time filming that and working
Mm.
with him. So definitely once you do work with them or repeatedly, you can kind of their process and you can work with them and it's amazing. It's really fun.
Yeah. Well, that's so good to hear. And Nevin's a great guy too. So yeah.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is there a dream role or genre you haven't tackled yet but really want to?
Oh, so many.
Mhm.
A
Yeah.
dream role.
Dream
Um,
role. Mhm.
I started doing acting because if you want to call it a purpose or like what I believe is my purpose, it is to help encourage people and to help them, in a way break out of whatever bad things they're going through. Um, which is something I kind of discovered when I was volunteering and I was working with, I don't know, it gives me a lot of joy.
Mm.
And if I look back in my life, movies have, or stories in general, movies is just, just one medium to tell a story, but stories are like, it's the most powerful thing we have.
Yeah.
It shapes our culture, it shapes like religion, it shapes how we think and why we think the way we think, and it's so crucial. And for me, movies have definitely given me that. A certain, like some movies have like shaped how I view everything. Like love is like it's shaped by, The Notebook, by Pride and Prejudice, and
Mhm.
A Walk to Remember. There's like all these movies that have shaped my how I view that. And movies like Into the Wild definitely made me, leave everything behind, leave for America, and gave me kind of the courage I needed at the time. So it's like movies are so impactful.
They
It's
are.
incredible. And it's not just movies. Some people get that feeling from verticals or from TV
Mm.
shows, but it's just stories.
Yeah.
And obviously be part of this industry, it's a dream come true already. But I guess having those roles where you can make that impact or you can have that impact on someone, it's amazing. So, but for dream roles, it's like I am a history nerd,
Hmm.
and like Pride and Prejudice era, like 1900s, or like Cowboy Ranch for Life, like any like historical drama, I would absolutely love to kind of attack that.
Mm.
Um, as I think it would be a very interesting world building.
Yeah, I can see
Um,
that. Do we have a historical vertical? Do we have one of
we're
them?
we're getting a few now. I think we've had a few recently. Like we had a I think the film in LA where it was like Greek mythology, and so we
Oh,
have.
the son of the daughter of Zeus. I
Yeah,
saw it with Cam and Rachel.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I didn't I haven't seen it, but we do have, they are experimenting now with going outside of the current life basically and going into a different, different world. As for fantasy too, would be fun, but I'm not
Hmm.
sure, like as an actor, I'm not sure how it would be. Just a tremendous challenge to kind of, you'll be doing so much. Like I've done a few stuff here for commercials and stuff where it's like you're acting to a blue wall,
Hmm. Yeah.
and do you have enough imagination in your mind to build that picture where there is nothing?
Mm. Yeah.
Like when you're doing historical dramas, like it almost sounds weird, but like I've done a few stuff where it's like you get to explore something. It's like the second you get on an outfit that it kind of gets you into some sort of a, I don't know, like
Different mood. Yeah.
different mood. Like
Yeah.
uh, I've done a lot of army roles here in Korea, and it's like the second you take on a uniform, it's like you walk more straight.
Yeah.
It happens automatically.
Yeah.
But a fantasy or a science fiction is like it sounds such a challenge as an actor to make that believable.
Mm.
But something I would be it'd be fun to approach, I guess.
I mean, I guess in life we all kind of live in some kind of fantasy at some point. So,
True. Very true. Yeah.
yeah, it's just how deep you want to go into that type of fantasy that, would
Yeah.
portray realistically. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I
Okay.
was watching recently, I was watching like a clip from. I'm a big Lord of the Rings. I'm a big nerd, if
Mhm.
you can't tell already.
That's fine.
Um,
I'm kind of nerdy too, so I get it.
yeah, and I was watching clips from like Gollum, or the guy portraying Gollum. I can't remember his name, and it's like
Mm.
he's just in this like full suit and he's just crawling
Mhm.
around on the ground. And I'm like, now maybe I could tackle it, but like a year ago, I would be so embarrassed that
Mm.
how can I live that? Like, how can I see? I don't know. Like, you're just
Yeah.
a 40-year-old guy walking around with a suit. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
but
it's
then you see
so
how
good.
hard they
Yeah.
commit to it, and then you see the final result, and you're like, that's it,
Mm. Yeah. I'm really
That
bad
would
at
be fun.
getting secondhand embarrassment. So even when I'm
Yes,
not doing something, I see
yes.
someone doing something, I'm like, oh my God, aren't they
Yep,
embarrassed?
yep, yep.
I get that so badly.
So I
Yeah.
wish I can get there one time. I hope I can be so immersed with what I'm
Mm.
doing that I'm like, there's zero humanity or like
Yeah.
embarrassment left in me, that'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
that would be cool. I when you were talking about movies before, like I also find I'd watch a different movie depending on how I felt in that moment as to,
Yes.
so every different emotion is whichever movie you go back to.
Yep.
So I've got plenty of those movies in my back pocket. So
Yeah,
yeah.
me too. Me too.
Yeah. All right. Are there other parts of the filmmaking that interests you, or do you see yourself focusing mainly on acting?
For me, acting was never, I mean, it is, but for me, it's the telling of the story that interests me. For
Hmm.
me, it's the story that you can present in a way. It's being part of someone else's story. It's part of whenever somebody sees a movie, they all see it differently. Like it's so much to telling a story that I'm so incredibly like I'm so thankful to be part of this industry, but also like this is where I want to be until I
Hmm.
pass out and I die. I want to keep
Yeah.
telling these stories or different type of stories. Um, so definitely like within, writing a story or directing a different story or all of them for me are of equal importance and somewhere I want to be, but I'm not sure. I feel like I'm totally open to any part of the storytelling.
Mm.
Um, as of right now, I don't feel comfortable of being the overseer, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
of the story. And I feel a
Yeah.
lot more comfortable with just having a small part of that story and then trying to, um, like I have enough to make the story about who I am as a character. And when
Mm.
you
Yeah.
when you are either the screenwriter and you're writing the story or you are the director trying to see the whole picture, it's like it's you have to have a different story in your mind.
Yes. Yeah. You need the
Um,
whole picture.
you need
Yeah.
the whole picture.
Yeah.
While as of right now, I'm very much occupied with just my very little part of it.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so maybe one day, maybe once I get more comfortable with everything, it could be fun. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think
I
for
think,
now, for now, acting, for now, taking on a small piece. Yeah.
yeah. I think the editing room has a big factor in how the story is told too.
You like it's unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
in vertical dramas, it's like I don't think
Mm-hmm.
people understand this. Like when you're doing a horizontal movie, there's so many factors into play, but like you don't have these issues with like you don't have the editing issues that we have in verticals. And
Mm-hmm.
in verticals, like I can almost tell immediately within the first 10 episodes whether or not this will do well or will do poorly. And it has nothing to do with the acting or the script or the story or anything. It's just editing. Editing is like
Yeah.
a lot of these verticals are literally being edited in like a week. And some of them are being
Yes.
edited in like 6 months. And the it's such a difference. It's unfathomable how different it is.
Yeah.
Um, and how poorly or good you can look as an actor depending on where you fall in that editing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, they would have a different edit for the first like 10, 15 episodes because they may be free, and then they would have a different edit. Like I worked a lot with an amazing, amazing director here in Korea. She goes by Shani, and she's like every single very successful vertical film in Korea, she has been the director. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's
Okay.
like everybody doing this in Korea knows her, and she's so tremendously good. But
Mm.
she's only allowed to edit after the free episodes a lot of the time. So there would be a different team
Oh.
editing the free episodes, and then she would edit the rest. And it's
Oh,
like
interesting.
you see because they have like you're selling into the platform, and they have a certain picture they want to present. So
Yeah.
maybe overly sexy or they will edit it in a way that try to catch as many people's attention, whether that is
Mm.
crazy, whether that is away from the story, they will do that
Yeah.
just to catch people, you know?
To hit the paywall. They want to edit it before you hit the paywall.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a lot of times that destroys the drama
I agree.
because again, these are they're not Americans and they're trying to
Hmm.
see how we can hook Americans. And it's like it's a weird, and we're seeing that unfortunately a lot of times.
Hmm.
And you're just seeing how differently the editing can truly impact the story. And it's yeah, it's in
Yeah.
verticals more so than anywhere else. It's
Yeah. Like even in any production, sometimes I sit there and I'm like, oh, you could have just held that scene just that
yeah,
little bit longer because such a
yep,
dramatic thing happened and then just cut. There was nothing, you didn't let people live in that scene just a little bit longer. It would have
yeah.
made a bigger effect than just
And
slicing it off.
not only that, but like as an actor as well, it's like let's say you have a scene where it's like you were talking with somebody or they're talking with somebody or which is the majority of vertical dramas, let's
Mm.
be real. And like if the camera would just linger on your face for like another second or two, it would be so raw and so powerful. But they
Yeah.
have this like we have to cut every like 2 seconds because they have to be
Mm.
sharp, like you
Yeah.
know. And it's like we're missing out on all these beautiful moments where you see actors actually going deep and you see them getting, emotional. But you can't just get emotional. Like it takes time and a lot of times the editing
Mm.
is not really allowing for um I don't know. Everything has to happen so quickly, and all the
Yeah.
cuts start so quickly that you're losing out on so much truly beautiful stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into who said this, but I got a message before from somebody who was so excited for me to see their new
Mm.
production. They were like so happy. And then they messaged me afterwards and said, "Oh, never mind. The
Yep.
editing, the editing just ruined it." And I was like, "Oh,
Like
bugger." So, yeah.
unfortunately, 9 out of 10 times. Unfortunately, nine
Mm,
out of 10 times. Where that's
yeah.
why doing a story, you can see the script, and the script can be amazing. You see the cast can be amazing.
Mm,
Yet it's still like it's nobody's going to like, and
yeah.
it's unfortunate that that is kind of like the make it or break it thing, but it
Mm,
definitely is.
yeah. But it can
Yeah.
also have the opposite effect. It can make a story
Yes.
even better.
Yes, and I remember filming one. This was actually a year ago, and I'm like that. This is the roughest production I've ever done in my entire life. Um, Most of the actors were first time acting, and getting the amount of lines you're getting for vertical and like the amount of scenes and working 12 hours per day for like if you're not used to this it is a nightmare and we had multiple actors that show that just couldn't get through their lines and we ended up filming almost every single scene with like everybody like it's a group scene, so it's like 3 people talking or 4 people talking. Whenever we had those scenes, we had to film them individually because they couldn't
Mm,
get through the lines otherwise. We would film like one person and then we'd have like a board of the text behind the camera, right? So then 2 people would just literally just like be filming by themselves and reading, and then
okay.
look here, kind of thing.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and so like when the camera's on me too, I'm like, it's so weird to me to not react to actors, but just react to a hand.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, there's no way this can look real, like there's no
Mm,
way I can, But then you see the editing, and they did such a good job, and it's like the quality at least came out looking a lot better than I thought it would. So yeah,
mm.
I've also done. Not that it made it big the show, but it was definitely it could have been so much worse than how it came out.
Yes. And so props to the editing team for that because some
Yeah,
of them can do really well. So,
amazing. Yeah, it's crazy sometimes how it's like, how did you make it so good from what we experienced? Or unfortunately, though, as we mentioned, most of the time it's the opposite of like, how can you make it not be better than
mm.
what it is from the material we had?
Yes. And I guess at the same time, they've also got their boss who says you can't do that. You
Yep,
can't.
that's
So,
most of the time. That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
let's be real too. It's not 10 people asking for opinions. It's normally one person saying no, that's good, or no, that's bad,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what we have to abide by.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Which role has surprised you the most in terms of how much you learned from it?
Ooh, I will say actually one of my more recent ones. I could give you two here for different reasons, but I'll give you one of my more recent ones that came out, I think like 2 weeks ago or something like that. It's called Diana the Good Girl.
Mhm.
And again, it was filmed in Korea. I was working with a lot of some new actors, but a lot of them also amazing. But the director allowed me to do whatever I wanted with my role. So I had, I can kind of like, if I wanted to smile, if I wanted, like he kind of just trusted my process.
Mm.
And that was the first time I had so much faith from a director of how I want to portray it, which let's be real too, a lot of times that's not the best way of portraying it for the story. It's just
Yeah.
because I fixate on who I am, not how I can best tell the story or how it works with other characters. So it
Mm.
is important a lot of times to have some sort of, over like guidance of how your character would fit in with the rest of the story.
Yes.
Um, but I had so much freedom in that one. And so when it came out, I can be like the scenes where I feel like I wasn't strong or I didn't present it in a way that I liked. It's just me being
Mm-hmm.
that. You know what I mean? It's not because most of the takes too, you're doing it in a one take, right? So it's
Mm.
like
Yeah.
my interpretation of how that scene would go doesn't look as good as I thought it would, or it doesn't look as real as I thought I would look in that scene. So um I was very happy with a lot of it, but my own opinion about what I think will be real and look good, sometimes it's not
Yeah.
correct.
But was that more for just the fact that it didn't go with the story, or more the fact that you didn't portray on screen like you thought it would?
Both, I think. I
Okay.
think sometimes it wouldn't portray on scene how I thought I would like.
Yeah.
But that also can be, it could be lighting, could be camera, that kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
But also sometimes like it didn't go as well with the story because like when you see the final edit, like I realize I should have been maybe a lot more angry here, right?
Mm.
And I should have been a lot more emotional here because this happened before that I wasn't fully aware of. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I go into the scene and I don't really know how bad it is, but then when you look at it and you look at the editing, you're like, oh shit, he
Mm.
would have like I look back at him like he should have been pissed now.
Yeah.
But I'm
That's
playing
where
it
the
as like,
guidance comes in. That's where the guidance from the
yeah,
director comes in. And it wouldn't help with shooting them out of order too. So sometimes you just don't know at that point that you're supposed to be that mad.
we always shoot them out of order. So it's like that's precisely it. Of like, if there was like, if I knew they were gonna like upplay that scene or play it in a different way, then I could have reacted to it in a different way too, which could have
Yeah.
still been real, just in a different motion. So
Mm.
that taught me a lot because even though I thought like how I approached it was very natural and very real, I do see that in that context, it just doesn't look real. No.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
that's
yeah,
like
I
a
think that
bigger
was
picture
important.
thing. That's a bigger
That's the
picture.
bigger
So
picture.
yeah. So like I think that in that scene you probably did really amazing, but as the bigger picture, it just didn't quite work.
Which is a very important lesson to have, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was one, and I will mention another one where it was one of the first ones I did before kind of reading the scripts properly, and I was more of a toxic uh, character, uh, like a toxic husband that realizes his mistakes and then get the girl at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not really a fan of these stories, and I
No.
decline them now. But again,
Yeah.
this is before I read the scripts before I accepted my roles, and so much of the story was filmed before the client stepped in and they kind of told us we wanted it to go in a different direction, and I'm so like upset that we didn't know that going into it the beginning because it didn't have to be as toxic, it didn't have to be as bad as we wrote it. A lot of that did get lost in translation.
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
it would be things like he pushed her to the bed, right? I'm not going
Mm.
to reenact the scene here, but like
Yeah.
you can see that two ways. For me,
Mm.
there's an angry guy who's yelling and pushing her to the bed. What they wanted, I realized a couple of days later, was that it was more like the sexy,
It's
pushing,
playful.
dragging, playful.
Yeah.
But I read that script and I'm like, he pushed her to the bed. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
there's no fine lines here. There's no parentheses. So
No.
um, that was one thing. But that's miscommunication, mistranslation.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I had a few, especially one scene there where I was supposed to kind of like she was on bed and I was kind of getting on top of her while she was like kind of telling me to stop, and then she slaps me
Mm.
and I go away. So like nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
But being at a mental space where it's like I remember like getting ready for the scenes, like she's there, I'm kind of outside the window, I'm kind of like, okay. When I go in that door, I need to be somebody who would kind of approach somebody that I know don't want to be approached. Like I need to kind of
Mm.
try to get on top of somebody that is telling me don't. And
Mm.
that was like that was rough. I'm
Mm.
like, if somebody tells me stop, I stop. Like
Yeah.
I do not cross any borders here. And
Yeah.
I despise violence.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember we did the scene, and obviously I didn't do anything bad, but I remember they said cut, and I just started like crying, and I'm like,
Oh.
I never ever want to feel this way again.
Mm. Yeah.
Feel like I could be someone that could do something like this, even though I never did.
Yeah.
In my mind, when they say action, I was somebody that was kind of willing to take it that far.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that also, but again, it's my acting style. Some people you can just, you can close your eyes, you can just, oh, now I'm just doing these expressions and I'm doing these actions. But for me, I need to somehow feel what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'm gonna act the same way, I can never do a scene like this again.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I can
That gives
fail,
you,
like I can maybe approach it more technically, but that was rough, and that was also like kind of giving me some knowledge of that was too much for me.
yes. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to people about this before, but like, the character, the Joker, you know, Heath Ledger, God bless his heart, but it would have to take some level of
Yeah,
like what you have to get to be able to reach a character like that would take a toll on anybody.
yeah,
Um, like you said, that took a toll on you, and that was, you know, one of those scenes. But for someone to get to like a bigger scene that constantly pays those types of characters,
yeah.
it must hit. But that's where it's really important for us as an audience to understand that that actor is not their character, and that's
Hmm.
yeah.
I feel like you're definitely on it, but you're
Mm,
also I have spoken to a few people that take those roles more frequently,
mm.
and a lot of them don't approach the characters as in feeling what they're feeling.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people approach the characters of like, okay, you want me to smile like this and do that? Okay.
Mm.
Have a more technical approach to acting of like,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are so talented of this. Like they know
Yeah.
how to move their mouth or their breathing in order to get out a certain image.
Mm.
Like I
Yeah.
can't cry unless I'm actually emotional. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Me
But
too.
there's so many amazing talented actors that can like just by breathing, they can start getting tears.
Hmm.
And it's the same with being angry and yelling and all these things. A lot of actors are able to kind of approach those roles without themselves feeling what they're feeling. Like,
Mm.
um,
That's skill, purely
it's
skill.
it's yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying, and not everybody is approaches it as emotionally as I am.
Mm. Yeah, no,
There's
I
different
get that
ways to
though.
it.
I get that though. Like, I mean, obviously I'm not an actor, but I feel that if I was going to be an actor, I'd have to feel something to be able to get fully into the scene.
We we
But
we say that, and that's what I
mm,
say too. But I definitely know some amazing actors that are able to take on continuously these bad roles, and they're able to kind of
mm,
like the second they say cut, they go back to being this fun guy.
that's good.
Uh,
That's good because you don't want
yeah.
to live in that. You don't want to live
Well,
in that.
I am somebody who needs to be like, I need to like get some time to get prepared myself for an emotional scene. So people have different ways of definitely approaching coaching roles.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you have a favorite type of scene to act?
Yes.
Mm.
This is gonna sound any scene where I'm not trying to look pretty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but I suppose my favorite scenes would be it depends on who I'm working with most of the time. But whenever I can show some sort of emotions, and not necessarily, preferably not anger, but I feel like maybe it's just what I can relate to the most, but these verticals are all in such a high stakes scenarios, you know, like it's like your mother is kidnapped, or you know, like somebody's dying, or like you have to save the world. Like it's exaggerated how incredibly blown out of proportion these stories are. It's not just a love story, it never is, you know, like
No.
it is bullying and rape and God knows how many bad things,
Mm-hmm.
which is why it's not necessarily overacting when people do that. It's just like the scenarios are so crazy
Yeah.
that if if anything remotely close to this would happen in real life, you would be out of your mind, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so I'm not saying overacting, but I do really enjoy a portrait, a lot of roles that are very stoic or very, you know, a lot of masculine roles where it's like you don't have that many emotions, you don't have that many feelings. You are just there to be the protector of this woman or to save her or and I truly love the scenes where I can be more real. As in
Mm.
when I can be someone that this person has emotions too. Like
Yeah.
he can be wounded like other people. He can, you know, he can have some sort of a buildup of emotions going around and not just always
Dramatic.
yeah.
Yeah.
And especially for the verticals, a lot of times you do play either the good guy or the bad guy.
Yeah.
And in my mind, there's no good guy and a bad guy, you know, like there is like if you're a bad guy, it probably comes from being hurt. And if you're
Mm.
a good guy too, that probably comes from being taught a lot of lessons that gave you hurt to get to where you want. Like there's not like
Yeah.
hero villain kind of thing in real life, you know?
No, I mean, I think that there's just purely bad people, but then there's good people who make bad choices. So
Yes.
there's a difference. I mean, they're not bad, they're just making bad choices. But
Yep.
you can tell the difference. Well, sometimes you can tell the difference between those. So,
But yeah, I agree. And I haven't luckily portrayed those that are just bad yet. That would be,
mm,
I'm not sure if I don't want to.
hmm
But even the good guys, it's like you don't just become a good guy. Like it doesn't work like that. Like if you are very, especially these, you know, you're 30-year-old, you're handsome or you're very rich or whatever. It's like your life has given you a lot of attention. Your life has given you a lot of opportunities to take the bad path, and you chose
mm,
the good path. Like there's so much story there. There's so much behind that. Like you don't just become you I don't know.
you
It's
got to put work into it to be a better
yeah.
person. Yeah.
So even those characters, like there's something there. There's you know there will be triggers, there will be trauma, there will be something.
Mm.
So whenever you're able to kind of show that is definitely my favorite scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind storylines that, is like a good person that's making bad choices, but I don't
Right.
like it when it's a person who makes bad choices to the point that you would never forgive them and then you forgive them. Like, I don't like that.
Same. That's why
I don't like it at all.
I don't
Yeah.
take those roles uh,
Mm.
anymore. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
can
did once,
completely understand.
but yeah,
Yeah.
because I also feel like we do. A lot of people will disagree with me here, but I do feel like having any sort of job or any sort of opportunity to be somewhat of a public figure, even though it's in a very small sense, in a very close community, you are still somewhat a public figure. And to represent somebody in those stories, it's like I don't want to give that impression to people. I don't want people to even like if you do those bad choices that you can't come back from, there shouldn't be that forgiveness. Like you, it could be
Yeah.
peaceful and like, but it shouldn't be that happy ending. I don't want anybody to watch these stories to be like, ah, but maybe I can win her. No, it's like,
Mm,
you know. So I do feel like there is some responsibility there to at least make it, um, don't portray those stories that humanity would be really well without in a way.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, look, I personally hate those stories for personal reasons, but when you're saying like the public eye and things like that, I'm
mm,
also really big on knowing that when you're telling a story, you as a person, as an actor, is not that character.
yep.
So the it annoys me so much seeing so many so-called fans always, like portray the character as being that person and
Mm,
putting them down on screen. I've had conversations with people how they've been attacked over social media for
right.
their character that they've played, but it's their character. It's not
Yeah.
the person. And it's really sad that you can't play those types of roles and for the rest of the public eye to realize that's not you. Like
Yep.
it's not hard for them to understand that that's not you. So,
Mm.
I mean, it's a shame that you guys can't be free to take on whatever role you want to without having to worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I mean, yeah, it is part of the job though, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
people will it was a big change for me when I swapped obviously from being an engineer to being an actor or this kind of transition in my life where
Mm.
people like I get so much more attention now, but I
Mm.
get attention from the characters I've played more so than who I was as a person. And it's like 30
Yeah.
years of my life, it's like if I did something good, it was me.
Yeah.
And the people that appreciated that or the people that, it was always just me.
Yeah.
And now in the last 2 years, I guess, or 2.5 years, it's like a lot of people are like, the character you like that role is like, that's
Mm.
amazing. Like, and I'm like, great. It's not me though. It's just I
Mm-hmm.
portrayed that, but it
Yeah.
it is a unique world, and
Yeah.
I see the bad parts of it, but there's also some good parts in it, and
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, that's like with my interviews, unless I'm actually interviewing you guys for like a group interview where I'm doing it
right.
for that specific like vertical or
Mm,
something, I dive more into you rather than
yeah.
what characters you played. And that's just, I mean, anybody can go that. That's great that people are interviewing for that as well, but that's not how I like to do mine. I like to learn about you guys.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's what I'm telling. I love these questions because they're like I haven't been asked these questions as much. So I
Thank
really
you. I'm glad. Thank you. All right. How do you handle creative risks like something completely new or challenging?
with a smile. I mean, I don't. I think it's such a. There's been some people that are commenting like, "Oh, how do you do the same? Like, how do you do the same billionaire three times in a row?" I don't view it
Mm,
that way. I view everything to be so individually and different that every time I take on a new role, it's as challenging as the next one. Like it doesn't really
mm,
change that much. As we mentioned like previously, I think taking on a role, for instance, in a fantasy world, would be
mhm.
not necessarily more challenging of who I am, but it will definitely be. I would have to create more layers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just trying to figure out who you are, but how are you in a different world. Like that is.
Mm.
Um, but no, I definitely just I would do the same thing I'm doing now, just in a bigger context, I suppose. Or
Yeah. And I guess it would differ to how much you really excited about what you're going into.
yeah, most of the time, no, I am very excited about anything I'm going into. I am
Yeah.
so thankful to have this job. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. All right. I have two more questions. Is there anything you want anybody to know about you or your work?
think so. No. I guess it's not very relevant, but I am so incredibly proud and happy and content with where I am in my life.
Mhm.
And I'm so incredibly thankful for that. Like as a person, not as the roles I'm portraying. So um when I did one theater play, this was maybe, 10 years ago, 15 years ago in college because I was so shy. So I signed up for theater as a way of trying to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I remember that I met so many actors that maybe it's just coincidence, but so many theater actors that they weren't that happy with who they were, and they were using
Mm.
these roles and characters as a way of escape from who they are.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, as in, they felt really comfortable being able to now be angry or now yell, and they
Mm.
felt like they couldn't do that in real life. And
Yeah.
um, so I don't know how different it is, but that's not me. I
Mm.
absolutely love who I am, and I'm very happy with who I am. And when I take on a role, um, I'd still prefer me over any role I ever take on, I guess.
That's good. I think
Yeah.
that's really good. Yeah. Yeah. Um, how do you hope your body of work will influence aspiring actors, especially those making international transitions like you?
Mm, that's a very good question. I've had this question actually quite a bit since I moved to Korea from aspiring actors in Norway or all over the world, really. Um, I guess I think what is really important is that every single person in the world, actor or not actor, will approach a story differently. They will approach a character differently, or like this idea of like, I think every single person on this planet could write a book, even a
Mm.
biography, because we all see the world differently. And even though you
Yeah.
may think you don't have a story, you do, and
Yeah.
nobody has walked that path before you. And when it comes to acting too, I do think that everybody would approach the roles differently.
Mm.
Uh, Preferably, like if you get some training or something like that, you're not going to be as nervous, or maybe like you can do that more comfortably.
Mm.
Um, but I do think that everybody has the potential to, be an amazing actor or whatever. If they get out of their shell of, if they can at least let loose and be themselves, then their way of approaching a character would be unique. But so then when it comes to international and how do you build a career like that, it's like there's maybe, I don't know, 100 productions happening every single day, like
Mm.
100 casting calls every single day or 1,000 probably. And, not just the vertical world, but like it's so much because every single country is maybe producing, I don't know, X amount every single year. And it's like there's so much here. And the reason why you may not be casted is just because you're not on the list of the people that are casting. Like,
Mm. Yeah.
if they are, like, let's say the vertical world is very specific, I get that. A lot of times it's very white people. A lot of times it's you have to look rich a lot of the times. Or now, luckily, we're getting these werewolf ones and stuff like that. But again, you have to look like a rich werewolf. Like, there's a specific image that you kind of need to have to fit into the vertical world. But there's so many worlds of entertainment that you can fit into. Uh, and there's so many different approaches you can have to a character. And then as long as you just reach enough people, you will be on the list where you are perfect for that role.
Yeah.
And if you don't reach those people or you give up too early or you don't make that network, you don't make those connections, even though there's the perfect role for you, they just don't know you exist,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And at
Mm.
least for me, it took all the like in the beginning, I was sitting here and I was waiting for casting calls, and I'm like, that's not how it works. You have to
Mm.
make yourself visible to the people that matter. You have to, put your name at least in the bowl that they can pick from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, And that
I
is
could
how
see
I
that.
took it more internationally. Like that's how I
Yeah.
stopped just working in Korea and now working more globally.
Yes. I mean, I could see in the vertical space how people would get quite down if they were constantly being rejected, but it isn't about their talent. It's just that they don't have what they're looking for in the actual character.
That's it, yeah.
Um, yeah, I
And
can see
there's
how
so many
that.
productions out there. It's like
Mm,
I I don't understand. I understand why people say it this way, but it's really frustrating to me. It's like even for commercials and stuff in Korea, it's like people in their 40s who are so upset that they get rejected for roles in their 20s, and it's like
mm,
it's just not your role. Like it's not a rejection of who you are or your talent. It's just that role needed somebody with a different look, or that role needed somebody in a different way, and
mm.
just don't give up and reach more people. There will be some time where your look or your image is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with typecasting so much. I mean, I understand why some people get typecast,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I disagree with it because I know that some people have a lot more acting talent and things like that, where they could go out and do other things other than just being
Right.
typecast to the one. But I also understand that you need to have a specific look, like you just said, to play a specific role.
Yep.
Um, so
You
I
can
just
you can you
wish,
can lean
yeah.
into it or you can walk away from it.
Mm,
But I don't know. It's always a weird thing because as an actor, you are not the boss. Like it's some client somewhere that will decide whether or not you fit the image that they have in their mind of how, like, no matter
mm.
how talented you are, like a lot of the times that's not the reason why you're getting picked or why you're not getting picked, you know?
I think what needs to change is what people expect from the storyline. So they need to make
Yes,
storylines for different people rather than just,
precisely.
yeah,
And that's when the typecast will change, or that's when we will be open
yeah.
to different personalities or different on screen. And it, until that happens, or we could even maybe hopefully push it that way,
Mm,
but and you can't be upset about rejection because it's like this the stories are just not there yet. Like they're not open for that yet. And we can tell the client, like we can tell so many people that people would probably love this, but there's so many parts of this art, this creative world, and at the top are the people with the money, and they need to believe that they can make money.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
don't have people willing to invest money to make money, it's we don't have a show.
Hmm. Need
And
somebody to
those
take
are
that
hard
leap.
to, yeah, and those people are very hard to convince that something
Mm,
that hasn't been proven to work will work, you know?
yes.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Even though us, as we see from like conversations and things like that, people want it. They want to see something different, but it doesn't show any money.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, especially with the verticals as well. Of like, for instance, I don't like stories that get too grotesque or like too violent or too gruesome or But then some of those stories they get 50 million views, and
Mm,
I don't mean that as in a good or bad way. People can say they hate it, but for the
mm,
clients, they make so much money on that. They made
yeah,
millions of that. So I can
yeah,
guarantee you they will make worse and they will continue making that bad because no matter what people say, it made
mm,
money. And
exactly.
for those people, they could not care less about the story. They just want to
Yeah,
have money for their investment. And so no matter
yeah.
how many people say they don't like it, if it makes them money, they will continue making it. And this is for not just act, this is the world, like this is the
Hmm.
world we live in, and we kind of have to accept that in a way. We can
Yeah,
choose to be part of that or not, but
yeah.
if it
Even though we
makes
say
money,
it, the
people will
data
do it.
shows differently. The
Yeah,
data, it's all
precisely,
of that.
precisely,
Yeah,
right? So it's like
yeah,
I hear people's opinion, but if the data shows differently, it will be done and it will get even worse. It will get so bad. Some of these scenes that are so horrible, it will get so bad until they finally reach a point where it's like, even by pushing this worse and worse, now we're not no longer making money, then maybe they will go back.
yeah. It's like a point where we're going, okay, we've gone too far.
We're
Let's,
gone too precisely, right? But it's not
yeah,
going to stop until we get there, unfortunately,
mm,
because testing the limits and exploring it's part of who we are. Like,
mm,
I don't know.
yeah. Well, I get that. I get
I
that.
wish it wasn't the case, but it is.
It's reality,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah. What makes the world go round? Money.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview with me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much. These questions were I truly appreciate them, and I'm sorry if I was babbling too much, but the questions you asked were more about who I am or how I see these things more so than, what some role I portrayed did, and it was very refreshing, and it was so yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. And don't be sorry for blabbering. I love the conversation. So, okay. Well, I'll talk to you again very soon.
For sure. All right. Bye.